I'm filming this video at 6:30 on Saturday, April 6th, and ideally, I shouldn't be making a video right now. What I should be doing is getting my stuff ready and heading out to the Orlando Apollos game, as they have a game scheduled tonight at 8 o'clock against the San Diego Fleet. But unless you've been living under a rock, you guys all know that the AAF is folded, and I made a quick video about this last Tuesday or whenever it happened, discussing it a little bit, and in the video I was almost relieved in a way because they had been talking about kind of the league folding, that there was going to fold in a matter of days, and it finally did. So when it finally happened, I was like, okay, at least the news came out, so now I know a little better. But it didn't really hit me just yet that the league had folded. It didn't hit until 24, 48, 72 hours went by. And then I started realizing I'm not ever going to be able to watch the Apollos again. And I actually became very emotionally attached to the Apollos. Obviously, as a season ticket holder, I went to every game. I watched every game on television. And even with the AAF, I probably watched over 60, 70% of the games. And I just really found the league a lot of fun. And this probably hurts more for people like me, just because I'm really not that much of a fan of any other sport. When it comes to basketball, I don't mind watching NBA or college basketball once the playoffs rolls around, but in the regular season, those kind of things bore me. Baseball, I think, is incredibly boring. I respect the game of baseball. I'm not going to hate on the sport. I just don't find it very compelling for me to watch. And honestly, my second favorite sport is probably soccer, which I really don't even watch all that much. So, really, if I were to rank my favorite teams out there when it comes to enjoyment of watching, it'd probably be number 1, the Jaguars, number 2, UCF football, and number 3, the Orlando Apollos. And now the Apollos has been taken away, and it hurts. It really does. I'm not going to be able to watch this team play anymore. I had become attached to different players like Garrett Gilbert, who was the best quarterback in the league. They had running back Akeem Hunt. They had wide receiver Charles Johnson, linebacker Northrup. They had just players all over the field, and I was really getting to know the roster. And now it's going to be no more. And I guess the way this league started off was Bill Polian and Charlie Ebersol started this league about 12 months ago. I mean, it was a really quick turnaround from when they initially announced this whole league. And I was really excited because the first team they announced was the Orlando Apollos. And coaching the Orlando Apollos was going to be Steve Spurrier. So once I learned that Steve Spurrier was going to be the head coach, I automatically knew that the Orlando Apollos were going to be one of the best teams in the league, which they were. They were 7-1. They were two games better than any other team in a division in the league. They had already clinched the playoffs. They were the best out there. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I love the Orlando Apollos. But and after Bill Polian and Charlie Ebersol kind of created the league, the turnaround time was very, very quick. And then, after the first week of football, the first week of the AAF, they announced that they were kind of having monetary issues. They weren't able to make payroll. And then we thought that this man who was like a Superman, who was, going to fix the league, and that was this guy named Tom Dundon, who was the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes of the NHL. He came in, and it was announced that he made a $250 million investment that was going to be able to carry them throughout the entire season. And once the playoffs finished. But it came out a little later that this guy had only put down $70 million. He didn't like write a check for $250 million, put in the bank account for the AAF, and it was like that. He was more so paying out week to week. Every week he would basically pay out what needed to be paid out, and it worked like that. And he got to the point where he was down $70 million, and then he pulled the plug on the league. And he was trying to play hardball with the NFL, basically saying, hey, if you guys don't accept us as your developmental league right now, we're going to pull out. And when you look at the NFL, they couldn't do anything right now because it was a violation of the CBA to do something like this, to have a minor league kind of system. And it wouldn't be until 2020 when the CBA expires and they had to create a new one where they could talk about this coming into effect. But this man was too impatient and basically said to the NFL, hey, if you don't accept us as a developmental league, then we're out. And guess what? they were out. I mean, the NFL doesn't care. You know, that'd be like me saying to the Jaguars, like if me going to Mark Lamping and saying, and, you know, if you were to ask Mark Lamping about my channel, you know, he'd probably say, oh, yeah, sure, it'd be nice to have a channel out there that talks about the Jaguars, that gets the fans engaged and stuff like that. But if my channel discontinued, he wouldn't care. And that's the same exact way as the NFL. The NFL doesn't need the AAF. The AAF needs the NFL. And if this guy was more patient, he could have got to the point where the NFL would have talked about in the CBA meetings and whatnot that, you know, they could loan some players from their 90-man rosters, from their practice squad to be able to play in the AAF to be able to further develop. But that never happened. And not only were really like fans cheated out of this league because, you know, there was going to be a playoff system, and it would have been really exciting for a fan base of whatever team to really be able to have a championship game. It would have been a lot of fun. But the players are probably the most screwed, and there were different players around the league, like Gian Paul from the Salt Lake Stallions broke his arm last game, and they're not covering his medical funds, so he's having to pay for his hospital bills and whatnot out of his own funds with no insurance. You know what I'm saying? We know how big hospital charges are. You know, it probably cost him several $1,000s when it should have been paid for by the league because he got hurt on the job, obviously. Anthony Marzo Lewis had to drive home 17 hours after the league got called off because the league didn't offer these players flights home. And not only that, the whole entire Memphis Express team after the San Diego game, when they went back to their hotel, all of their stuff was in the lobby. Because the hotel didn't pay the hotel bills, the AAF or Memphis, whoever didn't. They didn't pay the hotel bills, so they basically kicked them all out. And then, you know, even some players were like charged for the rooms, you know, charged big money for those rooms when obviously it should have been comped. Logus Tully Tillman from the Memphis Express was charged $1,781 after being like in an apartment for only a few weeks when rent is only like $700 there. So a bunch of players are getting screwed in that sense. I'm sure there's a lot of investors getting screwed. Hell, my college UCF was cheated out of $1 million. Like the AAF owes UCF $1 million for the games that were played in their stadium, in Spectrum Stadium. And I don't know if they're ever going to get that money back. I'm sure there's all kinds of class action lawsuits going on, but they're not going to be able to get that money back. So this league, just like with every amateur football league, whether it be the XFL, the USFL, the Arena League, I mean, you name it, all kinds of leagues start to fail. And, you know, it's bad. It really sucks, especially just for everybody. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people aren't really all that affected by it. I know there's a lot of jokes on Twitter about it just because people like to, I don't know, people like to see juicy stuff like this, and when different things come out, they like to kind of exploit it. But I mean, this league, it was just a mess. I mean, even the Apollos, due to a workers' comp issue where they weren't able to get covered by the league, they had to practice in Georgia. They lived in Jacksonville, drove a bus to Georgia every day to practice over there. It was a mess, and it really sucks. I'm going to miss this league. I'm not going to be asking them to do the XFL just because there's not a team in my city or there's not a team in Jacksonville. There's going to be a team in Tampa, I believe, but I have no connections to Tampa. I don't have any emotional connections, so I don't know if I definitely won't be as connected. I'll probably watch some games, but, you know, we'll see if that succeeds. I know they're going to have a whole 2 years of planning, but really with this league, when there's not great quarterback play, it's going to be hard to succeed. So the AAF, it was a failure. It sucks. I was really just hoping this league would succeed and just be able to play years on and years on, but yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, thank you guys all for watching my video. Let me know what you guys think about the AAF. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for Jaguars content, and I'll see you guys next time.